Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Rivalz Race Chat. Clinton, Geoffrey, and Adam Ross with you as usual. Welcome to a Wednesday. Adam, a bit of a different show for us.
Yeah, a little bit different. What was that noise? I mean, I get in trouble if I'm jingling change or playing with a pen, which I always do if I have something in my hand. Did you just smack a ruler off your desk as we were coming on?
No. I'm twisting my pen, and as you said that, I'm doing that thinking, was that? No, I don't think I made any noise. You let me know if you hear it again.
Something snapped.
No.
Might have
It
been
hasn't
you.
been
You
us
snap a lot.
snapping yet. No, not yet. We've been good. We just settled it. Welcome to a Wednesday. Yes, we have not abandoned Tuesdays officially. Spencer, our producer and wizard behind the curtain, had some prior commitments, and he does a great job being available for 50 of the weeks. So we can't complain on the odd Tuesday when he cannot make it. So we had the choice, Adam. The choice was to pre-record something and put it in the can Monday that would air in our regular time slot, which at 8 o'clock when my phone started blowing up and we were getting messages, what, no race chat? Did you guys officially kill each other? It was then that I realized, well, maybe we should have pre-recorded something, but now we're here live interacting, and looks like a bunch of people joined us already tonight, which we thank you. I think we made the right choice to go live tonight.
For what it's worth, I would rather be live to a smaller crowd than tape delayed to a bigger crowd, if that makes any sense. Because at least this way we can interact a little bit. You know, Gary Colling is here. The Hollingsheads are here. I mean, everyone's here. Wesley Shaw is here.
Our regular cast of characters. We thank you guys for joining us every week. And again, if you have anything you want us to talk about, let us know. Just a quick rundown. As you see it on the rundown, we'll explain some of the topics in case you want to jump in on the discussion tonight and throw your questions or comments out right now as we get ready to roll. The great crate debate news came out today and yesterday regarding issues with the GM crate motors. A lot of us have our rules and our platforms around it. I'm one who is intimately involved with the crate sprints and the Thunder stock. So we use that package. So we'll talk about what that means, where we are, where we should be, and where people think we may be going with this. So that's one thing. We'll look at the Delaware rebuild that's going underway at Delaware Speedway. We'll talk about that. We'll look at some of the plans that Glenn Stars has revealed this week about Osh Weekend, and I'll talk about my meeting there with him. Brian's racing auction, we just had a Zoom call about that. Adam will reveal more about that. We're going to look at some cool race cars and check out the bodies they are and where we are. Then we'll play a little bit of a game we tried last week, which is a what is it? We're going to show some race cars from around the world, and you let us know what you think it is and where it may race at. And maybe see the same things we are. We're also going to talk about Eastern States and have a wrap-up. Money Matt Williamson is going to join us at some point in the hour, too. I told Matt anytime he wants to come by, just stop by, and we'll jump into that. We'll talk about NASCAR testing on the next gen at Bowman Gray with Clint Boyer, Tony Stewart, and Dale Jr., and a bunch of other topics and anything else you want to talk about. What do you want to talk about,
Anything you want to talk about. You know what, Clint? Not a whole lot, really. I've been a little bit off the grid. I went to Flamborough on the weekend to catch the Enduro there, and I enjoyed that show. It was a pretty good race.
How's that?
And it reminded me of the old days. And I don't share this much. In my race chasing days when I was in my 20s, I went to a ton of races by myself. Just didn't have anyone that wanted to go to the same races I wanted to go to. And that's what it reminded me of. Connor had to work on Saturday, so I was just sitting up in turn one all by my lonesome there under the blue building. There were a couple of people I knew, but it reminded me of the old days. I kind of enjoyed it, just sitting there with my thoughts.
You know, you say the old days. Rob Pitts joined us here on the chat. He was one of the guys who messaged me yesterday to say, what, no chat today? And I got to see Rob today. Good seeing you, Robbie. And we were talking about a few things. And, you know, he actually got his start in a gumball at Humberstone many years ago. And it's a great starting point for a lot of people who have thought about getting in. You know, you can get a car. My only thing is, man, they scare the heck out of me because I would not want to be sitting out there to get punched around for a half an hour till the next red flag comes out. In my luck, it'd be the longest green flag in history, and I'd be puckered there forever. But, man, they have done a great job.
Yeah, they had upwards of 100 cars. They paid $5,000 to win. So no, that part was a good show. And at some point, I want to talk about the reunion we had at Herbsville Kartways. Speaking of racetracks I haven't been to in a while, I don't think, Clint, I had been there since I raced there in 1991. So to go back there and go down that driveway.
Spencer, I'm not sure if you clipped that video. It was on the rundown, I believe. Let's talk about Adam. What is it? Where is Herbsville? How were you invited to the reunion? What happened there? Give us the Cole's Notes version of what we should know about Herbsville.
I'm directionally challenged. So Herbsville is just outside of Waterloo. So the north side of Kitchener Waterloo. Um, and the Waterloo Regional Kart Club was born at Herbsville Kartway, and it was a wild racetrack, very technical track. Some of the best racers you can think of. Like that's what we got talking about on the weekend was some of the names that have gone through that place. But they're bulldozing it. They're bulldozing it to put up a subdivision. So Lee Ramage, Michelle Girth, a couple of people that were involved in the kart club. Of course, Lee's father, Dave Ramage, his uncle Don Ramage from Oswego Speedway, super modified racing. They started to put the word out. And it showed that 9 people were going to show up to this event. It turned out there was about 30 of us. Ryan Hunsinger, Junior Farley, Mark Samet, super modified racer, his dad, Mike Alguire and his dad. It was just a really cool day where we went out there and had a couple of races. Waited. I think we waited more than 2 hours to get out there. Like it's not the slickest run place anymore, and they've straightened some of the turns, but it was a lot of fun. And then went out for some food afterwards. So this was the cool down lap. Many thanks to Lee Ramage. I wish he'd have captured the ugly winning move, but that was me celebrating coming into the pits because the 300-pounder took the win.
Good to see you guys out there having a good time.
Jerry Reese, that's the other one. I can't forget Jerry Reese because he is the one that I had the fastest. You ever have a time when you know you're in the fastest kart, Clint? So you're kind of messing around a little bit. I let him go by on the lap. So every lap there was one puddle on the back part of the racetrack off the side of the track, and I kept steering to go through it to water the track down because I thought it was fun. And Jerry was up there, and Connor, my son Connor, was up there in the mix. And I let Jerry get around me, and we're on the last lap. We come up under the bridge, and thinking, shit, I've only got 2 or 3 more corners, and I don't know if I'm fast enough to really make a move. So all 4 in the grass. I mean, I cut the track big time, came out, some contact was made, and then he tried to move me over, but I'm a little too big to move over. So he swung up and spun out. I wound up winning. Connor finished second. I kind of apologize, but it was the first time I ever won a race at Herbsville. So I was pretty pleased with that.
Well, good to see you guys getting back there and reliving some of the youth. I was over at T-Max Bar and Grill on the weekend, and they were asking about when we're going to go back to indoor karting in Hamilton again because we had a wild time the night we saw you guys there. You were just leaving us. We were just bringing our crew in, and good times. My favorite deal there is if you don't know, you can reach the on-off switch on the guy's kart if you're slick enough when you're driving beside him, so you can just off he goes. Lots of fun.
You can do what you need to do.
Let's talk about let's jump into the crate debate, Adam. So crate motors have been, well, you and I have both been proponents of crates from a long time back. I think they saved a lot of classes 15, 20 years ago. Let's say 15. When it brought, let's say, the mid-level classes, I hope I'm saying this right, a sportsman class, a mid-level late model, brought them back from $25,000 motors to, at the time, under $4,000 motors. So you could get your kid's karting program on the shelf, buy a good roller, buy an engine, and put your 15-year-old in the car, and it's worked. Very similar to the crate sprints, where you can buy a complete running package for $18,000, $20,000 that can win races, because the power plant is not $25,000 to start, and the chassis is reasonable. Am I on the right path? Would you agree with those statements so far?
Yeah, totally.
But as things have continued to rise, and so many divisions have based their platform around it, like you look at our street stock division on dirt, you look at the street stocks as the super stocks on the pavement side of things, you look at the crate sprints, you look at the crate late models. So many of us are on that 602 platform. 602 is the bigger brother, more horsepower. Pitsy was telling me today when he first got into late models, his 604 crate was about $5,000. He's just shy of 10 now. to buy a new motor for the same package, same straight up.
But they don't
Costs have
use them out
increased
of the.
crazily.
They have, but do they still use them out of the box in the late models that Pitsy runs?
Well,
Because I know a lot of sportsmen in the States, like, you need a Doneth motor if you want to be fast in a crate, and it makes me shake my head. APC did it too with their engine. I don't understand the engine program entirely. What I understand enough to know that I don't like it. If you take a crate motor and have to send it to a builder in order to be competitive, you're not running a crate motor program anymore.
I fully agree. You're now running a spec program. You're telling them what they have to run and what they haven't. We've recently seen, and I may be speaking out of turn, but the APC recently started going back to give weight breaks to guys who were not having to open up the motor to save some of that money. So if you have, I believe it's called a red seal motor, or I may be wrong, but they have a different colored seal for the motors that are pure rate from GM. You have lots of different ways it could go at them. Wow, it's
I'm
such a
going to give
convoluted thing.
I give credit to Pete Bicknell and how they can have handled tech over the years with their sportsman class. Because I don't know that too many people were doing what they did to make sure there was a level playing field
What did they do?
throughout the years. Didn't they put them on a chassis dyno years ago? Didn't they hold? I think they don't want to say confiscated, but they kept the top 5 or something like that and put them on a dyno.
It might have been once, but it wasn't a regular thing. Now, here's my pitch. Okay, so it was sold to the racing world that the GM seal bolts are unbreakable, unsaleable, unacquirable. You can't get them. We all knew that was easy enough to be done. You can get black market bolts. You can put them on. We've seen bolts taken off and put back on. They're not supposed to come back. Some folks love the crate program. Some don't. I think where it went wrong is we just decided those bolts were the end all be all of tech. And if it had the bolts intact and they looked good, everybody just gave it a pass. I love the idea of the crate program, but I think you need to be able to open it up and measure it when it needs to be measured. Same thing like we've done with the crates. And I'll tote our own horn a little bit with the crate sprints, because we have done every 2 years, we've toured in all the top motors, rate to bare nuts. We paid to put them back together, and everybody got a good look at everybody else's business. We bring in all the approved builders, and it works out for us because everybody's basically scared into knowing if you run too well with that motor, we're going to tear it down, and everybody's going to look at your nuts, literally. And, everybody gets to measure what you've done inside your motor. I would say your nuts too, but you'd go the wrong way with it. Either way, we're in a tough spot. So the moral of today's story is GM comes out with a problem. Start putting up some of these screenshots, Spencer. So GM, it was leaked by a couple of engine builders who started noticing problems with the crates a while ago. It appears to be so this is near the end of the story. I may have sent them out of play, but we'll take them one at a time. GM moved production of the Chevrolet Performance 602 crate engine solely within the United States 2 years ago. They manufactured the engines in 3 locations on low-volume production lines. Why put that up, Adam? Because people have been saying for years it's just Mexican junk. It's Mexican junk. This is another one, and we'll get back to that. Do you have the one, Spencer? I don't know, where he actually says quality is actually worse now that they're produced in the U.S. than when they were on the Mexican line. Let's talk about this one while you got up, though. Yes, production has been paused. They're looking into issues raised in the field. There are a variety of issues rooted in insufficient oil clearance that has manifested in several areas. Show me the next one, Spencer. Problems increased tenfold when production was taken out of Mexico and moved to the United States. The workmanship was better in Mexico. The question is why. That's a unique, interesting thing there, Adam, right? Because lots of people have said about that. So remember that thought. I think this is the last slide, and then we can discuss some of them. With the Chevrolet Performance 602 crate still in high demand, shortages of 602 crate will continue for the near future. However, Martin said they will start getting back on track soon. Are there any more, Spencer? I'm not sure. Okay, here's the last one. The 602 crate engines built in August have no oil return hole by the distributor at the back of the engine. The hole is cast, but it has not been drilled out. So basically, they're starving for oil. The engines will blow up as soon as they're used on a dyno. Only a dyno could possibly catch the problem before it's too late. So this is a big situation, and they've sold hundreds, if not thousands, of these motors. I've sold probably 10 of them. Thankfully, I was talking to Pitsy about it today a couple hours ago. Thankfully, um, it pretty much said if the motor was going to blow, it would blow the first time you ran it. So most ones we sold were out winning races and running well into the season. So I'm not overly worried about it. But if any of our customers have problems, they know they can come back to it. We work with Strickland's; they'll stand behind it. So, um, you know, just a wild thing, Adam. We're in a tough spot now, and they've priced up so high. What do we do? Do you start opening it back up in the street stocks to allow opens? That's the cry from some sides of things. Interesting.
I don't. I mean, people have been crying that. They've been saying it loudly, but no, I don't think you open it up. Unless you put a horsepower limit on these cars, make it plain and simple. But then it becomes almost like the United Eights division at Sauble Speedway. If you beat a certain time, you get disqualified. Right?
It's
There's
kind
so
of like
many
what.
things that are careful what you wish for sort of scenarios.
Well, I think the top guys are always going to be the top guys. You're always going to have your top 12 runners out there in any division. Where we've lost is the filler of the field. If you lost your 13th to 24th place guys in a lot of these classes, and that's where the health of them came from, were those guys. And, I kind of believe in what Terry Vince was trying to do. If you could all agree on one dyno, you get him in there and you say, build whatever you want. Like I was talking to Pitsy today, if a crate late model is a high 480s, let's say, build whatever you want, open up to 450. We'll seal it. It's open for competition. Build the stroker. As long as it's under, the horsepower and torque rating, bring it out. Let's jump into our first guest here, Adam, and maybe our only guest tonight. Matt Williamson is joining us. We'll bring Matt in. Matt is a kid who started on crates. Matt, you went from go-karts into crate sportsman. We're talking about the situation with the crates that has come up in the past 24 hours where they're starving for oil, and they've got not really a recall, but GM realized they got a problem. What's your thoughts on crate racing, where it is? And also, you come from the short track super series a lot, where they have kind of a more of a wide open spectrum of packages you can choose from. Is there ways to equalize it when the motors aren't identical? Welcome, Matt.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. It's funny you guys are talking about this because I think that in racing, this is what really is like the biggest un-Facebook argument that I see that's going on. Anywhere from the W16s to the crate motors, to the big block stuff. It seems like no matter what you do, there's going to be people that are against it. But yeah, I mean, you guys hit the nail on the head. There's no really right way to do it, and there's no way that's going to satisfy everybody. But as far as like a rule that's gonna make everybody happy, that's a tough one to find.
Matt, I want to switch gears here. I want to talk about that crash at Orange County Fair Friday night. That looked like how nasty was that hit compared to other crashes you've had?
Honestly, it wasn't that bad. I haven't really wrecked a car though ever. I got in a little jingle at Merrittville where we rode a front clip off. I front clipped a car at Lernerville one time. But nothing like where I hit a wall, that I wasn't expecting to hit. That one at Orange County, the brake pad fell out of the right rear caliper, going into turn 3. They've got little like half buried tractor tires, in the infield. And, I tried to aim for one of them to try and slow the car down because I knew it was going to be bad. And I looked up at the wall and it seemed like from that tire, to the wall felt like 17, 18, 19, 20 minutes. It was weird how it worked out. I just kind of braced for impact. I didn't know what was right, what was wrong. That's the first time I've ever flipped a car, and that sitting, of course, your whole racing career, you don't want to flip and land upside down. That's what you kind of plan for your first flip, is to land on the wheels, and landed upside down. I undid my belts and fell into the steering wheel and, got my legs jammed up. But I mean, thankfully for safe race cars and the way that Jeff and Harry and them guys build them cars, thankfully I was able to walk away.
What did you have time to think? You said it was a long time before you hit the wall. What does go through your mind, Matt? Like you say, you haven't crashed much. You're normally running at the end of these.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Sometimes, it goes to like snowmobile racing. The fast guys usually ride off a few snowmobiles in their lifetime. So, it's tough. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say or do differently or I don't know. I mean, I'm just happy we walked away from it and happy that we had a good finish on Sunday that we could kind of, get away from kind of wrecking that car and look back to something different.
Matt, let's take it back a week or two before that. Let's go back to Fulton, where you kicked off before Super Dirt Weekend, just went on a tear, winning a lot of money, and that's a hell of a deal. As a kid who grew up going to those races with your dad, what does it mean to really kick it off? And, tell us about the mindset you get as the week goes on. Do you start to feel more invincible, or do you think, man, I got to have some bad luck coming my way eventually?
Yeah, I don't know. Racing's a funny sport. I've always been a big believer in you're only as good as your last race. Don't get a big head, just kind of play it week to week. If you go on a tear during the summer and you win a race on a Friday, you try and roll with it and win on Sunday. And then when you go back into Friday, you're only as good as you were 2 weeks prior to that. We went into Fulton. We had always run good there. Ran second there the year, or the last time we had raced there before COVID. Ran second there. Ran I think third or fourth with my own car. We were leading that race with my own car. Broke a drive shaft. So it was one of the things that I thought we were good enough to win. But I didn't think it would come like that. We unloaded okay. We heat raced okay. Started fifth, finished fifth. Started pulling the consi. Looked at who was around me in the consi, and at one point in the night, I said, if we go home and we don't qualify for this race, it's gonna be a tough week going into dirt week. So fortunately, we got it done. Started 37th, so obviously the race was pretty good. Jimmy Phelps started, I think, 40th. He drove up to the lead in the first 100, and I think I was third. So it just goes to show you that racing right now is in a good spot when you can have them races where people come from 30th or 30th, 5th or 40th to win.
I think you nailed it right on the head. I want to ask your opinion here, Matt. You can give it, you can not give it, whatever you choose. But the Tyler Dipple, in the last month, has made more enemies. What went on with Peter Britton was one thing, and then Matt Shepard, the memes alone that came out of Matt Shepard being airborne on the front stretch at Orange County. What is your take on any of that, and what do you need to do to avoid being a part of that equation?
I don't know what to do to avoid it. If somebody figures it out, let me know.
But wait a minute, Matt. It benefited you hugely on Sunday at Dirt Week.
It didn't. I think that we would have been up there contending for the win in the long run. Peter hadn't pitted for gas. Tyler was probably going to self-destruct one way or another. But I don't know what to say. I mean, I grew up with Todd Burley and Todd Gordon and, the guys that when you did something wrong, they'd come over to your trailer and there wouldn't be people following them to video it for Facebook. So when we did something wrong, we got told we did something wrong and you didn't have to deal with it all week. You didn't kind of go into Monday thinking that, you got to deal with it on Facebook. You got to fight all these people that are behind that person that you got into a fight with on Friday. You got to deal with all their friends and all their family and all their fans. So it was a different era before Facebook. I don't know how people do it now. I get grief on Twitter, Facebook, the internet. It's hard to block it out. And I think that I'm happy I grew up with 15 years of racing without that. As far as like Tyler Dipple growing up now, dealing with that, maybe that's part of it, but I don't know.
Matt, while we're on the topic, obviously we all saw Go Down take a poke at you after the race at Port Royal there. Where did you find yourself on that? Was it the Jersey guys were all on his side and everybody else on your side? How did you fall out in that deal?
I think I got more text messages after I said what I said about Ryan than I did if I won Oswego for the 200. People were happy. There's obviously two sides to every story. And I'm in the same position as Peter. I mean, we're racing in the States. We're not U.S. citizens. So if Ryan does something and wants to fight about it, I can't fight. I mean, I'm over there on a visa. If I fight, my racing career is over. So I think he knows that. Peter's in the same spot as I am. He's on a P1 visa. If he goes over and punches Tyler Dipple in the face, he's out too. So people want to say, he would have beat you up, or Peter can go beat up Dipple or whatever. At the end of the day, we're race car drivers and we're not fighters. So that's it. But the deal with Ryan, I mean, I think we got into it at Brewerton and probably 15 years ago. He called me a spoiled brat, but at that Brewerton race, I remember pulling in with my Uncle Dipper's 28-foot tag trailer, and we pulled in right next to Ryan Go Down. He had his big stacker and 2 cars and 2 motors and whatever. So I just take it with a grain of salt, and obviously we went on to the next race.
Now we
still exciting.
Very exciting.
We got a real racing question for you. Fran Bouchard wants to know, Matt, how does the D shape at Brewerton compare to the D shape at Maryville?
They're not very similar, surprisingly. Maryville, you kind of run into turn 1 and 2 and you can follow along the guardrail and you don't need to slow down too much running around the guardrail. Whereas Brewerton, you got to kind of putt around a Uke tire and drag race off. And Maryville's more of a momentum thing than Brewerton would be. It's surprisingly different. And I know a lot of people say, you have success at Brewerton because of Maryville, and 3 and 4 is very similar, but 1 and 2 is much different. But it's a nice place to race at. It's just fits my driving style a little bit, and I always enjoy going there.
Where are we going from here, Clinton? I got to ask Matt questions all night long, but I figured you must have a plan.
No, that's about it. Just want to talk about the success you had, Matt. Congrats on a great dirt week in the month of October. It's been. Where are you going from here? It's not quite sled season now. What do you do for the next few weeks or month before you can get out on the snow?
Yeah, thanks, guys. We got our small block wash from Eastern States. Tomorrow I'm going to go work at BRP and Friday, and then Monday we leave for Charlotte. Race there Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Come home Sunday, and then it's basically full blown around here. We're going to get our cars turned around and work during the winter at BRP and snowmobile a lot, and hopefully watch some football on my couch on Sundays. Bought a house in March, and I haven't got to enjoy it really much at all. So I'm excited to sit in my boxers on the couch and drink a beer and watch some football.
Attaboy.
All right, Matt.
Hey,
thanks.
I do have another question for you, because I was watching the stream from Orange County, and the announcer was talking about how impressed he was with Tim McCready jumping in the cars because there's been so many changes to the way they're set up. Would there be that much of a difference if you're a racer like Tim McCready or yourself running a different car and different tracks night after night? Would there be much of an adjustment, or is that something they tell you real quick before you climb in? Hey, this has changed. You drive it in deeper or whatever. Is there that much difference to how you drive these cars today?
Me and Timmy are pretty good friends. He parked next to me at Brewerton, and we got talking about how the cars are now. And he didn't feel comfortable because they're laid over on the right rear, they're laid over on the right front. Cars jacked up. It's like a late model is now, off the left rear on the right sides, and he just said, it's scary for me to drive around Brewerton with my left front 2 feet in the air and laid over on the right rear. And I never really thought about it until we got talking, and I said to him, it'd be interesting to see if somebody could come up with something that would make the cars stable on the right rear and not off the left front, but still have the speed. And in saying all this, there's people that attribute all this stuff about cars flipping at Brewerton to the left side panhard bar, and how the racing now is different, it's more dangerous. And Timmy basically said, it's scary for me to get in a car. And that's a guy that's raced at the mile, Knoxville in a late model, Evolution in a late model. I mean, he's raced at a lot of different places. So for him to say something feels different and dangerous, it really woke my eyes up. But there's a lot more to it. It's not just the left side panhard bar or the way that racing is now. It would certainly be a little bit of an eye opener to go from a late model to a modified, or go from a modified 5 years ago to a modified now. So I give him credit. I mean, he's one of the best. He ran really good at Eastern States, and obviously it didn't take him much time to figure out how to race these new cars.
Matt, what we got here, Anthony just sent me a video of your crash, so we're gonna Spencer just processing that. What we got here, Fran asked about the surface at Oswego. You guys know you have that as a tough week going in. It could go either way. It was great the last couple of years, but man, what a deal you guys had to deal with all weekend long. Talk about the mentality you guys have to do. And I think you touched upon it good in your post-race interview. You said, we just tried to build shocks and everything that was going to last because you knew it was going to be an endurance type race. Fran wants you to talk about the surface and how you guys dealt with that.
We really just ran our standard deal. We went over to Integra and they built some stuff with 5/8 shafts. So just a thicker shock shaft than what we would typically run. Same valving, same shock, same everything. Like, it wasn't like we went and changed the valving. We changed everything. We just put a thicker shaft in it so that the thing would survive. It builds more rod pressure, but nothing setup-wise changes. We ran our standard spring package. We stiffened up the left rear panhard mounts. Me and Spot had taken, and I remember the driver's meeting started at 9. I think I was there at 7:30, and me and Spot were cutting weights apart. He has lead plate weights. We were cutting them apart to weld them on the panhard mount, and we were doing things just to make it survive. We actually went to the driver's meeting, and there was a few people in the driver's meeting that didn't want to race for points, didn't want to race in general. There was a bunch of different opinions, and I was one of the ones that stepped up and said, I think we should race for points because there's 3 races left in this series. There's 2 races in Charlotte, and there's a double points race at Oswego. And I think we got to the point where, the racetrack was kind of not, favorable to everybody, not favorable to anybody really. But my guys had worked really hard to make sure that we had a car that would survive, and we thought we were going to be good. So my only shot at a points championship was to race that day, and hope we finished good. And Shepard didn't, and the other people we were racing with didn't. So obviously we raced. I don't think it raced that bad in the end. I thought the Friday night small block race or Saturday night small block race was worse than the Sunday big block race, but Jeremy Corcoran did all he could do. The fans were all there. Everybody was camping there all week. It wasn't in anybody's best opinion to cancel that race and come back later.
No, good call.
It didn't help. It didn't help that the next race a lot of us saw was Port Royal the next weekend, which looked like a pool table. It was so smooth. At least that's how it appeared, right? But
no, you're absolutely
same for
right.
everybody.
Port Royal is unbelievably good, so it's tough to follow that up with that. But they're both different aspects. I mean, Oswego on Sunday, as bad as the truck was, it didn't race that bad. I mean, you could pass, you could run side by side. There was times you go into 3 and 4, and if you hit the bumps right and 2 people in front of you didn't, you'd go from 15th to 12th. So it wasn't all that bad, really. Could have been worse. I've been involved in worse racing at Oswego, not because of roughness, but because of the track taking rubber. But I mean, it really, from a racer's perspective and looking at what the fans thought of it, I thought that it was probably better than what we could have been with.
Right on, Matty. In closing, we're just going to take one quick look at your video, and then we'll get out of here. This is one Anthony sent me from the pits. This is Matt from Friday night with a crash. He'll be coming in the picture here in the red. There it is. And Matt, how lucky are you didn't hit that butt end? It looks a lot slower there than it did on the stream, but I'm sure it looked a lot faster in the cockpit. But man, lucky you didn't hit that butt end either.
Yeah, I actually got that with the right front. But luckily, the right front took most of the damage. That you could see in the video that there's like Uke tires on the bottom. Like I said earlier, I tried to hit them to slow the car down, turn the car, do something different. There they are there. I hit the ones that were before the stream and yeah, it was tough. I mean, my other option was to go for that gate that was there, and I thought in the time that I had between the Uke tires and the wall, I thought that if I hit the gate and somebody was standing on the other side, it wouldn't be good for anybody. So my only option was to hit the wall and just ejected. We wrecked the car for Jeff, but I mean, it's goes to show you how safe these things are now, and how safe Jeff builds them, and how safe Bicknell Racing Products and Simpson and Bell and everybody involved in making sure that we're safe in the seat of these things, does a good job.
Yeah.
Right on, Matt.
Well said,
Good
Matt.
night, man.
Good luck in Charlotte.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it, Matt. Thank you. We worked with Matt for the past couple weeks. Had a celebration last week with the team. It's understandable, and glad he spent some time with us. Thanks, everybody, for talking with us and Matt tonight.
I think we got in the questions that we needed to get in, don't you?
Yeah,
Little
I'm
of
with
this,
you. Though.
little of that.
We could bullshit all night with these guys sometimes. So sometimes we just got to move on. Delaware Rebuild's underway, Adam. You and I got to spend some time there. This year was my first time at Delaware, but man, I really fell in love with the place. They started picking up the pavement and grinding it to redo some work in the infield there and doing some work in the pits. Exciting to see what Luke and the crew and Russ and everybody down there are going to do to get this one back. New surface coming of a place that was really well known for its characteristically rough track.
Yeah, it was, Clint, but I'm excited. In order for Delaware to flourish as and I'm sorry to use the term, a crown jewel racetrack to hold these huge events, I think some of it needed to be picked up just a little bit, and that's where it needed, was the racing surface. As a venue, I think it's top shelf. Like, everything is there that you possibly need to put on a great show and have a great atmosphere. Get that racing surface down, and I think it's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, everybody talks about Ush Weekend as a showpiece, but when I go to Delaware, I just drool. I'm like, oh, it's laid out so perfect with the beer gardens and the tower and the grandstands and the natural amphitheater, the grass hills around where you can bring in a lawn chair, or even I was laughing from the infield under one of the breaks. There were like 15 kids just rolling down the hill in blankets, just having a grand old time there, and you don't see that a lot of the tracks because it's almost like a park. Great spot.
Yeah.
If you've never been to Delaware, you got to check it out, and especially as they get into next season.
You nailed it.
I always feel like I'm cutting you off, taking your thought away.
It's the stupid delay. Because, when we do stuff live together, it's so much fun. Because we do read each other pretty well, and you go off each other. The frickin' delay on doing things online, we've been 2 years now stumbling over each other like dickheads.
This is true. More like 25 years, depending on who you ask. Speaking of 25 years, Spencer, you got that photo I sent you of me from 25 years ago?
Is that the look at that hot bod? Is that the hot bod portion of the program?
I wouldn't set it up like that.
Good.
Kyle Tomaski sent me this. Says it's from, I guess it's April or August, maybe April 27th, 1999. Where I was just getting my start as an announcer at Merrittville. So this would have been, I think we were already together. We were already married by then, Adam. We're a couple years into it.
Oh, yeah. No, we weren't.
That's
totally.
when I went back to work with Eric Thomas there, I think. And that's when Bicknells would have taken over and went back and had some fun. But, Kyle Tomaski sent me that. So I got a good one for you.
How much did you make announcing at Merrittville Speedway?
Back then?
Yep.
$40 a night.
I was going to say, I was offered $35 a night by Bryant Irvin. Great man, great family. But And it's not about money, but I mean, my son and my wife eat $35 a night, $40 a night at a
Yeah,
racetrack. So
but
you
come on,
want to at least break even.
what would we have gotten started with back then 25 years ago our weekend? I mean, it wasn't much more than that. It couldn't have been $75 maybe, you know.
I
And
wasn't even going to say, yeah.
it wasn't much then either. It's only
And
now that
most
you get
everyone's
$5,000 a
envelopes were the
day.
same. Yeah. My day rate, my rider is pretty extensive too on what I expect in my trailer.
The coil of sausage is what we ate all summer long, courtesy of Adam Ross. But that sausage was awesome. I actually crave it. I crave Adam's
people crave my sausage,
Jerry,
Clinton.
do you want me to say that? Do you want me to say that? I knew you wouldn't be happy till I actually said it.
I actually had to give it a test drive myself. see how it sounded coming out of my mouth.
How'd your coiled up sausage taste? Fantastic. Hey, all the crew will attest. We need some of Adam's sausage. Anyways, moving on. That's getting a little bit weird. I had a good meeting with Glenn Stars last week. We talked about the future of Weekend Speedway. The plans are to full steam ahead. He's talking about 3 Canadian Nationals in one season, possibly $10,000 to win each show. And I think the plan is going to be 1 in July, 1 in August, and 1 in the regular September time slot. The September time slot, if we get 20 American entries registered and signed in, it will be paid in American funds. Right now, all 3 races will pay $10,000 Canadian and Canadian money to win while the borders are locked down. I'm excited about this, Adam. A chance for us to get back on track. I know Tommy Googe is excited. He's our Nationals guru and the historian. Means we're not going to need to asterisk those races. We're going to be able to keep it going. We're going to have the CSCN 16, CSCN 17, and the CSCN 18 will finish in its regular time slot. Pumped about that, pumped about a regular schedule, and pumped about all of the new additions. Let's show some of the pictures that I sent you, Spencer, the renderings of some of the new buildings. This is the new VIP pit building, 2 stories high, actually 3, I guess, because the main floor will be 4 garage bays, and then above it, I said, man, it looks like a freaking Howard Johnson from the States. That'll be 2 rows of balconies. So the upper picture will be what you'd see if you're in the pit area looking towards the speedway surface. This bottom picture would be if you're at the track looking back into the pit area. So this is going to go right at the end of the back straightaway in the pit area. Super excited to have that. Awesome.
That will provide the best view of racing that Ohsweken has ever provided. Because I love the place, Clinton. It's home, but the grandstands have always been on the wrong side of the racetrack.
You're talking about the sun?
Yep. Just a little thing. It's still fantastic, but the view from the back straightaway is just like Oswego Speedway. Watching the races from the backstretch at Oswego is much better than watching the races from the front stretch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see how that goes. We were originally going to put 6 in. They pretty much sold out instantly. Glenn decided to go to a second-tier building now, and I'm excited to see how that all plays out for all of us there. It's going to be quite the addition. Then out front where the gas station is, the plans are to remove the Slam Smoke Shop gas station, Steyer's Gas Bar, that's been out front for 30-plus years probably. They're going to take that down and move it back into the lumberyard area a little bit. And check out this building. Show this one, Spencer. This is going to be a combined building. Can you zoom in on the top? Maybe Spencer shows each one at a time a little bit. This is going to be, basically, to me, it looks like a giant Walmart-style building. It's going to be wild. This would be if you're looking at the driveway right when you turn into the gas station. So it's going to be the new store, gas station, a cafe, and the race shop on the end. If you look through this picture to the windows kind of right in front of where the blue Camaro-ish car would be, those are going to be windows where you're going to be able to look into the race shop and watch Kevin Lovey's and the team prepare them. So if you're there having lunch at the cafe, you'll be able to see them working on the race cars.
You can watch Kevin Lovey's bitch for 7 hours a day.
No, you won't hear him bitch. We'll make sure it's soundproof glass. That wasn't nice. Kevin's not like that.
No. Not listen to him, bitch. You can watch because he's always got this look on his face, like it's an intense look.
Again,
so he always looks like he's an intense person. If you ask Kevin Lovey, say, "Hey, are you real chipper? Like, do you skip around the shop during the day?" No, he sits there grumbling and getting things done.
Okay, let's look at the second picture. This would be head on So it's going to be pretty awesome. The left side there will be the race shop. It'll also be the OSR speed shop there for all parts. It's going to be exciting. Going to really change the look when you come down Cheeseford Road. This would be kind of from Glenn's mom's house looking back at it. Of course, there will be gas bays out front, as I understand, and it's going to be pretty awesome. So excited to see how that go on. The plans are to break ground on that sooner than later and get that moving. So excited about that. I'll just answer Andrew Sittler's question about any talk of 358 shows at Oshweekend. Yeah, I think you'll see 3 to 5 shows probably at Oshweekend for 358s now that Glenn has one. We'll see where it fits into the schedule and how it can work out, but excited to get it going. Stephen Kovacs asked, what year did we start working together at Oshweekend, Adam? I think that was 98. 98 we started.
I think it was because we met our wives at the end of that season.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, of course, full of LED. Brian's Racing Auction, Adam, that's the next thing we've got coming up. This will be January 15th to the 22nd at both Brian's auction locations. It will be in the Trenton location on the 15th, and then we'll wrap it up the following weekend on January 22nd at the Puss Lynch lot. Planning on having all kinds of race cars, everything you could imagine, from track passes to fire suits to trailers to race cars to race parts to motors, anything you could ever want to buy. We expect to have some of the best up, and that'll be the Brian's Racing auctions. If you're a consigner and you think you might have something you want to put in the auction, we're gonna have a lot more information on it next week's show. But show them how they can get a hold of Joel Lillycrop. Joel at Brian's Farm, and that's Brian with a Y. BriansFarm.com, Joel at BriansFarm.com. If you have a car, a trailer, anything racing you might want to sell at them, help me out here. What else should we be telling them?
Well, I think to explain to people, it's not going to be like the parts peddler auction used to be. It's not, no disrespect to anyone, it's not a junk sale. It's not a get rid of my old stuff sale. It's only going to be quality equipment, mostly new equipment. That's going to get sold through there, but we are looking to put in and work with the folks at Brian's Auction to get a couple of reputable rollers or complete turnkey race cars through it, and really make it a marquee event on the racing calendar.
Yeah, I agree. If we get the response we're looking for, we may even turn it into a bit of a festival at each end of the province, where we'll be hosting some live shows there and showing you some of the key items that you can bid on throughout the week. We'll also have a big feature on this program that week, where we'll talk about some of the key items and figure out how we can get you on board and talk about some of the hot stuff that is really making some hot bits during the program.
Yeah,
so we're excited
none
about that.
None of it's going to be hot. There will be no hot equipment sold at this.
They know.
In fact, that leads us into a topic that's a little bit later on in the show, but you could jump it up here. It's a nice segue, Clint.
Yeah. Once again, Joel at BriansFarm.com there on the screen if you have anything. Let's talk about that. Stolen race car and gear. I heard there was an update. It was found, but Matt Box lost a bunch of gear. They took the entire race trailer and everything. What a heck of a story. It's something we see quite a bit. I know it's something we were very, we took seriously with the G-Force trailer. We always had all our locks on, all our boots, everything to make sure if you're going to tow it away, you need a helicopter to tow it. Crazy story. What do you know about this?
So the car was at McCall Racing, I believe. The trailer was parked outside McCall Racing. It turned up stolen on the Saturday morning. The social media post that went out about this went out fast and furious. And I don't think that had anything to do with it being located. I believe it was a police matter. I believe the police found the trailer later in the day, and as far as we were told, nothing was taken out of it.
Yeah, this is amazing, and this was due to everybody jumping on social, as you said, Adam, sharing it feverishly. They were very thankful to everyone who shared it. They were just informed that everything was found, and at least the trailer was found. So it's such a good deal. Good job by our racing family to get in, help each other out. It's similar to what happened around here at the Nationals. A trailer went missing right after Nationals, and we were able to get it back from them about 48 hours later, which is amazing. So good job to our family to get it out there and make sure everybody looks out for one another and all your investments. Eastern States, we can wrap off there. We talked to Matt Williamson. That was pretty much our Eastern States wrap-up. Let's look at some hot bots.
Did you see that Friday night race? at Eastern States, the champions, the Will
Yeah,
Cagle 24-lap champions race. Was I correct in hearing that everybody in that race got $1,000? It was $5,000 to win, $1,000 to start.
I did see that. Yes, that was neat.
That's a neat concept, enjoyable race.
You know,
That's a healthy bit of money.
and they drew the entire field, which is pretty wild. I mean, we tried that with crate sprint cars. We would never do that again. We learned that was pretty dangerous when you got rookies at the front who probably shouldn't be at the front. You have quite a quagmire.
In a champions race, I think it works. Like really,
Yeah,
Brett Hearn. You know, as you look up and down the list of drivers that were in that, Brett Hearn is probably the most out of touch of any of them, and I still say he's pretty sharp behind the wheel.
Twitch it says towing the G-Force trailer was scary. I had no problems towing that. Maybe it was the bug unit that weekend. And Twitch it, send me a message so we can get you straightened out. But I think you know, so many wild things have gone down. Let's jump to these hot bods, Adam. So this is a hot bod. Check out this car. This is a street stock, I think. Look at that thing, Adam. What do you think of that?
Come on.
I mean, it looks like a Viper.
It's horrible.
You don't like that?
Well, maybe it's not horrible.
Picture 24 of those out there on the dirt, buddy. That's badass. What are you talking about? I think the lines on that are gorgeous. See, I've been one of the guys on the ODCC who's dug into the old style bodies. Monte Carlo still looks like a Monte Carlo. Camaro should still look like a Camaro, clearly. No flares, no extras. But you might get me sold if everybody put these bodies on their car. I mean, I like it. What don't we like about it? Richard Hathor says looks like
I don't know. There's nothing I don't like about it. I just like, you know what? I don't know. I'm just old and grumpy.
Andrew Gates says MCO with fenders looks like a modified had a baby with a big block modified. Oh my goodness. Well, forget all you guys then. I'm just going to start my own class and race it in my backyard.
Show us more, Clinton. Show us more, Papa.
That's what I got. Okay, what is it? Let's look at these other cars. I thought these are some other cool cars from across the way. How's that for a ride? What do you think of that? So it's not quite as ugly as the England banger cars that they run over in England. Let's talk about, I kind of like them. Down tube looking body. I'm not sure I love the scrub rail outside the right rear tire, but show me some other ones, Spence.
I think that's practical. I think that's just freaking weird.
See, I could see you driving that. Like, if we put a 36 or a 44 on that, that's the car you'd be driving.
My feet would stick out the front.
If you could rest on the push bar. Show a couple more. I sent like 8 or 9 of them, I think. Maybe 6, 7. I think they're neat looking. Got any more, Spence?
You know what? I'll give them this. They're well put together.
Yeah. I think they're cool looking. You guys let us know what you think.
I don't even mind that rub rail. You know what? Put that rub rail all the way with the front bumper the way it is and let them use them accordingly. Like as a bit of a hooligan class. I think you'd be on.
Well, I think that's what the banger cars are in England. That's where we need Rick Young to fill us in.
Yep.
Spencer, are you awake? Those the only pictures we have?
Wait.
Oh, I thought I sent you. I thought I sent him a lot more. All right. That's all we got then.
Story of Clint's life.
I see it anymore. Yeah.
I swear I thought there was more.
Hey, I got 2 kids. Mind your mouth. So we're with what is it? We've done look at your bod. Stolen race cars. Let's talk quickly. Oshwegan Speedway. Glenn Stars Racing has an auction. Not an auction. Oh my goodness. We need to get off this. Wednesdays are just terrible. It is a garage sale this Saturday at the race shop on 3rd line, 3388 3rd line. Get in touch with us if you need to get on board. Show some of those pictures, Spencer. All kinds of parts. Nothing new, Adam. This is not the kind of stuff you'll see in the Brian's auction. This is all old, used stuff. Still has some life left in it. So if you're an up-and-coming sprint car team trying to figure out how you're going to get to the Speedway, give Kevin Loveys a call. Some top wings, nose wings, and pretty much everything you could need to put together a sprint car is up for grabs. And that's this Saturday from 10 to 1 at Oshwegan. Not Oshwegan.
I think this Saturday,
on 3rd line.
I'm not going to be there, Clinton, because I think Connor and I are going to go watch the Guelph Griffins play McMaster. I want to see Trevor Monahan's son. He's a defensive back for the Guelph Griffins.
Right on.
I think I've heard he's just dynamite on the football field. I want to go watch that.
I wish I
just
could
had to
see
throw
some
in that
football,
plug.
but I'll be down there at the sale. Last thing, next gen cars being tested at Bowman Gray Stadium. They had Tony Stewart, Dale Jr., and Clint Boyer out there. Adam, what's your thoughts on that? Using these retired guys to come back out, test out the cars, and let them know what they thought on this flat track of Bowman Gray. There's Clint Boyer talking to Tony Stewart. We got a few more photos of the testing that went on. Your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are my meathead kid just came storming in here. He's pointing at something on the floor that he thinks he needs. I think that was done back in the day, like with the IROC series. The test drivers were Jim Sauter, Dave Marcus, I believe Dick Trickle maybe. And you just unplugged that cord. The cord that didn't matter, thankfully. Get the hell out of here. So, no, I think that's phenomenal input. You get drivers that have been there, done that, know what they want to feel, know how things have evolved. I think those are the right drivers.
Yeah, I mean, you look from another perspective, those are probably the most vocal drivers out there who are going to talk about the package. So get them in, get them happy, and maybe they'll spout off good things for you.
And develop it, right? You put a kid out there, they're going to figure it out. Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, they're going to figure it out. Put someone who's weathered, someone who doesn't have anything to gain by sucking up to NASCAR and say, no, I think you need to look at this, or I think this is good, this is not. Those are the people you got to have out there.
Right on. Well, we made it through another hour. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this Wednesday instead of Tuesday. We'll be back next Tuesday at our regular scheduled program time, 8 p.m. And thanks, everybody, for watching us all summer long and participating in all the G-Force broadcasts. Don't forget, you can still go back and watch everything on demand on G-Force here on the channel. Just go to gforcetv.net.
Sorry for the intrusion there at the end. Yeah, he ruined my concentration. I was hanging off of every word. Then all of a sudden, a teenager storm in.
It's all good. Thanks, Spencer, for everything you do. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. We'll see you next week.